stuck here. The cops won't bother me.
What makes a beginner's bike? You know, this is something that's always debated alongside of which tires I need to use and what engine oil I need to use on my bike. There's always varied opinions, but I find that there's a lot of stupid opinions, and especially in sport bike forums. Normally on sport bike forums you get the usual advice that is more based on ego, because sport bikes, generally people get them when they're a little bit younger. Not all, but you know, it's a generalization that's often more true than not. But I wanted to give you my input on what makes a good beginner motorcycle. I'm riding a Ninja 250, and everybody kind of like just assumes I'm a beginner when I'm riding it. But this is my third Ninja 250, and I actually had a fourth, but I got it as a parts bike. Now the thing is, Ninja 250s are really great bikes, and I do tell people all the time that they're starting to ride to get a Ninja 250. And a lot of the reasons are not the reasons that people give on groups. One of the main reasons I hear in groups is that, oh, you're going to get a Ninja 250, 2 months later you're going to get bored and you want another bigger bike like a 600. And some people, that's true. But there are things that the 250, a 125, a 300 will teach you that a 600 won't. And I'm just going to be using the Ninja 250 as the example for a beginner bike. A very good beginner bike to get if you're starting to get into bikes. You know, it's not so much the size of it. The thing is, I see a lot of guys going, but I'm 6'4" and I weigh 200 something pounds. The 250 is not enough. Well, first of all, it is enough for you. It'll move you just as well as any other bike. And that's a weird reasoning that people have, because a 250, even though it's got 29 horsepower, it's more than enough for most people on the street, especially if you just ride around town. You know, the bike just doesn't have enough horsepower to get you in trouble with power. One of the things is with the 600, even though it's a 600, it still has way too much power. And it kind of makes you a little bit of a lazy rider. If you start out riding a 600 and you develop habits that are lazy, then I find that the riders that get the 600s never end up to be very good riders. You know, there's always exceptions. And that's the thing. Not every single thing is the right answer for people, but generally starting out with a small bike is the best thing for most people. And a lot of times people just get into these ego wars that they need bigger bikes all the time, but that's never the case. Just go into corners and you know that this thing just goes around the corners just as well as any other bike. The only type of corners that this bike doesn't go around well are like the very fast sweeping corners, because you don't have a lot of power to kind of play with. But this bike makes you use momentum to your advantage. I'm gonna see if I can cut this truck off. We have plenty of time. With this bike, you have to be in the right gear all the time. It's very mechanical the way you need to build up the power. You have to keep the revs really high. And on a 600, 1000 and up, you can be lazy. You can put it in third gear and just ride around, and you still have plenty of power throughout. You really don't need a 1000 in the streets. That's the thing. I love riding 1000s because the power is intoxicating. But keep in mind that not everybody's built equally, and you're better off getting something that you might not, you know, be so hurt if you damage it. Most likely you're going to be dropping a motorcycle as a new rider, And often it's never like large accidents. What it is just you dropping it in a parking lot or whatever, some very slow speed situation. And then you're gonna have to fix up that bike. The more expensive the bike, the more that you have to pay to get it fixed. So a Ninja 250, since it's a beginner's bike, there's tons of parts available because people drop them all the time. It's an easy bike to fix. It's very easy to live with. It doesn't require a lot from the owner. If you want a new engine, it's only like 600 bucks. And you might as well do it yourself. A lot of people learn how to work on bikes themselves on 250s. They're easy. And there's also a really big community of Ninja 250 riders. The thing is, nobody really respects people that ride 1000s when they're starting out, because oftentimes it's your ego talking, and perhaps you're trying to compensate for something. You know, the riders that I've seen get 1000s, I often have seen them get into accidents on group rides. And I've seen them struggle with riding. Whenever I see a cyclist riding, I can tell right away their experience level by the way they ride. Their cadence, their pedaling. It's the same thing with motorcycling. You can tell a lot by how a rider rides. And even with an advanced rider, I keep telling people you should always have a Ninja 250 as a bike that you keep, because it lets you perfect your riding technique. To me, riding a nice Ninja 250, it's a very natural experience. You don't have to be riding 1000 all the time. And by the way, as a new rider, if you have a Ninja 250, you're not going to get into a lot of speeding tickets. You know, I even heard of people say that they won't ride with people with 250s, which is a stupid mentality. You should try and help new riders. But if you actually fall into that whole, oh, I won't be seen riding with a 250 mentality, you shouldn't be riding with those people. There is a lot of satisfaction with knowing that you have a 250 and you can outride somebody with the 600 and the twisties. I guess if you live out in Texas or Florida where everything is straight, then maybe a 250 might be a little bit difficult. I don't know, but if your area has got any sort of twisties or you ride in a shorter area, you know, I'm in the DC metro area, so it's a pretty decent area for a Ninja 250. The only downside are the potholes and the bumps. The suspension is not as great as I like it, because, you know, you are getting a budget bike, but you should probably use any money that you have to get proper gear. I heard a guy the other day talk about how using proper gear makes you ride like an asshole, but that's just a stupid opinion. Sometimes they're stupid opinions.
Merry Christmas.